Saturday, October 11th, and you're watching You Don't Watch Sports right here on the Feo Grande YouTube Network. I am Bill Smith, and I am joined, as always, by the man, the myth, the legend, Feo Grande himself, Omari Ellis. Omari, how was your sports week?
Oh, it's a really solid sports week. Crazy stories all around, from in and outside the NFL. Baseball going wild, too. I'm happy about it.
Sports is hot in these streets, Omari, and we're going to cover just a few topics just to sprinkle a little bit of sports information into your casual conversation as we are your guiding light through the sea that is sports talk. Topic number 1, Omari, keep this NFL train rolling.
All right, we are going to keep the train rolling, and last weekend was crazy. First off, starting with things that weren't even game-related. I forgot to put it in the notes, but Mr. Mark Sanchez and the story that happened with him. Oh my goodness, it was a roller coaster from Saturday being like, oh wait, Mark Sanchez got stabbed and he's in the hospital? And now he's getting arrested? And then it turns out it's because he allegedly assaulted a man, and the man in self-defense stabbed him and everything. I make a reference to the New York Jets where I referenced the movie West Side Story. And maybe I shouldn't make so many reference to gang violence, which is what that movie's about, because he was showing that indeed, when you're a jet all the way. And he started attacking people. Leave him alone, though. He might end up, that's still alleged, but still, if he did do it, what the hell, Mark? What the hell? Anyway, NFL time, Sunday. I made some picks and stuff. I went 9-5 on the picks. Could have been almost perfect, but some things happened. We got some upsets in there. The Eagles, I said could have been almost perfect. That's why you're
after
laughing.
after saying 9-5, could have been almost perfect.
Well, this is what I'm going to talk about. There were some upsets and stuff that happened, okay? Like the Eagles, they lost their game on Sunday. Forget exactly who they fought, but the Chiefs losing to the Jaguars on some of the craziest stuff at the end of that game. Trevor Lawrence literally falls down at the line, has trouble standing, trips 3 more times, manages to still get up and make his way into the end zone at the last second for the Jaguars to upset the Chiefs. There was no business the Jaguars had winning that game, but that happened. The Bills lose to the Patriots. The Patriots, who hadn't done anything all season for real, beat the Bills down on Sunday night. The Eagles then on Thursday play the Giants, who also nothing all season. This is the undefeated teams, Chiefs and Bills, both got upset on Sunday. But then the Giants come out here on Thursday and just that's why division games are division games. But still crazy. They embarrassed the Eagles on Thursday. Sometimes I overuse the word embarrass, but no, 34-17. That's an embarrassment when you're the Super Bowl champs and you're going against the NFL chumps. You know what I mean? And so that's what I'm saying. Also, another thing where it was the Cardinals versus Titans. Could have gone either way. But Amari DiMarcado decides, hey, I saw that Colts player last week pull off his Deshaun Jackson impression. I'll show you how to really do it. He doesn't hold it out and drop the ball. Deshaun Jackson flips that shit as he goes over the line. And so that's what he did. Apparently, a lot of people had anytime DiMarcado scores a touchdown as part of their parlay for their bets. And a lot of parlays were hitting. And then that happened. It was his only chance for a touchdown that whole game. Ruined so many people. I'm like, that's why I don't actually bet on sports. That said, 48-31-1 on the season. You know what? We're still positive win-loss ratio with these picks.
Remind me where the push came from?
The push?
The one.
Cowboys Packers. 40-40 scorigami tie. Week 4. They went into overtime and just kept going blow for blow. The battle of who should have kept Micah Parkins for real. I guess at the end of the day, both teams turned out fine as far as we can tell. That's about as even a trade as you can get. You go head to head and you tie it with it.
Right, right, right.
Um, but yeah, so that brings it into this week. I'm gonna keep making these picks, see if I can do better. But first up, and some of these are hard, but I'm gonna pick them anyway. We got Broncos versus Jets. After that game against the Cowboys, I got no reason to pick the Jets, so I got the Broncos over them. Jaguars versus Seahawks. I'm gonna go with the Jaguars because
Rolling on momentum.
limping, rolling on momentum, and limping as they did, they're still 4-1. Surprise, surprise, they're the
Shock Jaguar
Jaguars.
team.
Yeah. So you
Okay.
know what? If T Law is finally playing like the number one pick that he is, and for the rest of the season and can ride this wave, let's go, Jags. Meanwhile, Dolphins versus Chargers. Two teams that are underperforming, especially the Dolphins. But I'm gonna say the Dolphins have a chance this week against the Chargers. I'm gonna pick them over them. LA versus the Ravens. Sorry, Ravens. I don't have the faith right now. I'm gonna need to see something that says you are back to being the Ravens. But the Rams is probably not the team that's happening against. I got Colts over Cardinals, Cowboys over Panthers. I don't like saying this, but speaking of teams that have won more than I noticed, the New England Patriots, I have them winning over the Saints. Uh Steelers over Browns is pretty easy. In a game that can go either way, Raiders Titans, where the quarterback of the Titans even came out and said, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We asked this season. I'm going to pick the Raiders. I mean, the team just seems like they defeated in their own self. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I got your Bucks over the 49ers because the 49ers can't help but have an injured team every year. And the Bucks are pretty strong coming into this season. Now they have won all four of their wins that they've had so far this season by 3 points or less. The Bucks have, so it's taken a lot of late game, heroics and things going the right way. But they're still a strong team. Baker's been cooking up people. I'm gonna say the Bucks over the Niners. Packers are gonna beat the Bengals. We'll see you next year, Bengals. Sorry what happened to Joe Burrow happened, but clearly that team's nothing without him. They
Mm.
did get Joe Flacco from the Browns to try and replace the quarterback that they have, but Joe Joe is old now, and that line is non-existent on the Bengals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh Lions, I got them over the Chiefs. I got the Bills over the Falcons. The Bills will bounce back. I mean, the Falcons lost to the Panthers 30-0. I'm pretty sure the Bills can beat that team. And then Monday, I got Bears over the Commanders. Cautious lead, but I got Bears over the Commanders, and next Thursday, Steelers over the Bengals. We'll see how
Okay.
that goes. But
Let me ask you, Amari, because I see you do have Detroit going over over Kansas City.
yes,
How far do you see this skid going for Kansas City? Is it over?
I don't think
Is the
I'm not
window
saying it's
closed?
no, I'm not saying it's over. I'm saying the Lions are a solid team. They got, Jamar Gibbs and Devin Montgomery, Sonic and Knuckles. Jared Goff has been playing well. The Chiefs, I'm picking the Lions over the Chiefs because the Chiefs are vulnerable. What is over is the mistake-free nature of their football. That
Well,
that
you and
that,
I
that,
both
that,
know
they've
that
been
that
making
doesn't
a lot
start
of
until the
mistakes.
playoffs, but you have to
Oh,
get into the
yeah.
playoffs in order to flip that switch on.
True, there has been some, magic during the season for them, previous seasons. But yeah, you're right. It is mainly a postseason thing. But I just picked the Lions this week because what happened Monday against the Jaguars, and like I said, the Lions aren't slouches themselves. It could still go either way because Mahomes and Kelsey could just decide, hey, let's just play catch and not throw to anybody else
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
they do. But I got the Lions winning this week, though.
All right, all right. Is that
Yep.
everything for NFL?
Pretty sure that's everything for the NFL as far as what I've got to say.
All right, well, we're going to move on to the MLB postseason. We have some advancements to talk about. I'm going to take you on a little bit of a time travel. We're going to time hop to last week, just after you and I spoke last on Saturday. We had several big playoff games going on. First, you had Milwaukee defeating Chicago and Toronto defeating the Yankees in absolutely dominating fashion on both parts. Toronto defeating the New York Yankees 10-1 last Saturday to start off both of their series as 1-0. And then you also had LA defeat Philly and Detroit defeat Seattle, but in much tighter games. LA Philly ended up being 5-3 at the end of the day, but that score doesn't necessarily imply how close that game felt the entire time. Then we move on to Sunday, where Toronto goes up 2-0 in a best of three series against the New York Yankees,
Ooh.
13-7. Most of those 7 runs from the New York Yankees occurred in late innings during time where Toronto wasn't really providing their top tier pitching, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so that game once again is an embarrassment. The Toronto Blue Jays scored 23 runs in their first 2 playoff games of the season, breaking the record set by the Los Angeles Dodgers just 1 week ago.
1 week ago. Damn. Not even last year. That's
No, just
crazy.
1 week ago when the Los Angeles Dodgers scored 18 runs in their first 2 games. Um, and then you had the Seattle Mariners go over the Detroit Tigers 3-2, again continuing this very tight series that they have established, now tied 1-1. Into Monday, the LA Dodgers win again, going up 2-0 over the Phillies in a 4-3 nail biter. Milwaukee defeats Chicago once again to go up 2-0, 7-3. Again, the Chicago Cubs just do not look competitive in this series. Milwaukee up 2-0. Going into Tuesday, we have Seattle coming back 2-1 against Detroit in an 8-4 victory, as well as the New York Yankees coming back in a 9-6 big scoring affair to bring that series to 2-1.
Okay.
On Wednesday, Detroit wins against Seattle 9-3 in the first game that really felt like there was any kind of separation between these two teams. And Chicago finally pulls out a victory against Milwaukee in a nail biter 4-3 to bring the series to 2-1. And then finally, Toronto ends the New York Yankees season 5-2 in what also again does not feel like that close of a game. The Toronto Blue Jays are the first team to move on to the championship series in Major League Baseball. That same night, the Philadelphia Phillies defeat the Los Angeles Dodgers to make that series a series. We are now at 2-1 with Philly at 8 and Dodgers at 2.
Okay.
On Thursday, the Los Angeles Dodgers finally put the nail in the coffin for the Phillies fans and defeat the Philadelphia Phillies in a very close game that goes into extra innings, 2-1. On that same day, the Chicago Cubs managed to defeat the Milwaukee Brewers 6-0 to tie the series up 2-2. Then last night, we had game 5 for Detroit and Seattle, the most competitive series of this tournament so far. Every single game feeling like each team is scratching and
Yeah.
clawing for every possible thing they can get. A phrase called manufactured runs. We're not seeing just these big giant home runs hit everywhere. You're talking about a single, a stolen base. Maybe there's a bunt to advance a runner.
There's a
Run
game.
runs are getting scored from errors and sacrifice fly outs and things like that. Uh, After a good chunk of the game being 1-0 Detroit inside of Seattle, Seattle has not seen playoff victory in so long. I believe it's 2001 since they had seen a playoff win in their own house. Detroit is up 1-0. Seattle manages to tie it 1-1. Then we get deep into the game. Detroit once again gets the lead. It is 2-1. In the ninth inning, Seattle manages to tie it. We have reached 2-2, and we are going into extras, Omari. And that game remained 2-2 until the 15th inning,
Woo.
where a ground ball base hit through two infielders, squibbling into the outfield, sends the Seattle Mariners to the American League Championship for the first time in their franchise history, still looking for a World Series win. Tonight
This,
we have Milwaukee and Chicago
this is their
going up
first.
against each other in their own game five.
This sorry.
You
I knew I knew the Mariners had never done the series because we talked about that last week. They never made it to the ALCS.
I could be wrong, but I
Okay.
don't believe so. Again, casuals here, but I
Yeah.
believe
Okay. No, I'll take your word. I'm just
yeah,
surprised. Like,
very
damn.
unsuccessful in the postseason, but also you got to keep in mind they are not that old. You think of baseball as a very old sport. Seattle is not necessarily an old team.
Okay.
They're not one of the youngest teams out there, but they're young in baseball when you
In
think about the
baseball
Yankees.
terms, yeah.
Um
Or the
so
Cubs, who were who have that other series.
yeah, so Milwaukee and Chicago will play today to
Okay.
see who advances to the NLCS to face the Dodgers. This matchup, I it is tough. It is tough to predict because at first, as I mentioned to you in the time wrap, that Milwaukee looked like they were absolutely dominating Chicago. Chicago didn't look like they belonged there, frankly. And then this back half of the series, Chicago has looked like the better team. So you could say momentum is going to be on Chicago's side, but you could say on paper Milwaukee is the better team. We won't know until the end of the night tonight, but we have Seattle Mariners versus the Toronto Blue Jays starting up tomorrow, and then Monday the Dodgers will face whoever wins the playoff game tonight. Omari, don't remember who you were backing earlier last week, but do you have thoughts on who's coming out of here?
Who's coming out of tonight's game? Or
Who,
just in
who's
general?
who's coming out of tonight's game, and then
Then
in
in
general, has
general.
anything might have changed?
I'm gonna say the Cubs get it done tonight, but yeah, I'm gonna say it. The Cubs get it done tonight, but they're running into a red hot LA next week. And after a struggle series that went to max games and LA pretty much coasting and having a lot of rest, which, some of their best players, playing two positions, rest kind of matters, to that.
That is a
Um,
story coming out. Although LA looks dominant on paper, and Shohei had a very successful game pitching.
yeah,
A story coming out of that series was the lack of offensive presence from the Los Angeles Dodgers left-handed hitters. That is Freddie Freeman and
okay,
that is Shohei Ohtani, who did not perform well offensively. I believe he batted close to 100 with a lot of strikeouts, a lot of strikeouts. Um, so he is vulnerable potentially, but also like you said, they are now getting 3 or 4 days rest when everybody else
yeah,
is getting two.
yeah. So I think, and just and at the end of the day, like you said, Milwaukee better team on paper. Chicago been playing better, and scrapping to get to this point. I just think the hard fought series like that will also kind of exhaust you a little more. And so that's why, and the Dodgers, we had them kind of as favorites coming into the season anyway. I don't have a reason to think now is the time, personally, casually. On the other side, well, I think you wanted to say something about the blue team from up north and a player on there. But I think the story of the NFL this season, oh, not NFL, MLB, the big story coming out is going to be finally they make it there and maybe even get it done. But I rooted for a team I didn't even like last week because of this, and I'm gonna keep it going anyway because damn it, I root for bad teams to finally get it done. So the Seattle Mariners, who are also from, the USA, we gotta go Mariners over the Blue Jays.
All
I,
right. Yeah, I do. I love the idea of the Mariners winning their first series. I love the team. I love the attitude. I love Cal Raleigh, Big Dumper, up there in Seattle. Might win his MVP. But Toronto looks so dominant. They look so dominant against the Yankees. They look like such a good, complete team right now. Off of leading the charge, their star player, first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr., um, who in that Yankees series accumulated 9 hits, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs. He bat 529 with a 1.6 OPS. He was just absolutely unstoppable on at the plate, and an incredible story of being a second generation MLB talent. You play for the Toronto Blue Jays as a Dominican man, but also you are a Canadian citizen because your father played for the now defunct Montreal Expos. And you were born while he was playing for that team, so you are a Canadian citizen as well. And now you're playing for Toronto. And he is just, like I said, batting absolutely out of his mind. So if he can keep that rolling, that team is going to be hard to stop. They are going to be they are going to be something to contend with for anybody. Seattle
well,
or LA or whoever comes out of the Milwaukee Chicago series.
yeah, full like disclosure and honesty. I'm actually very scared of the Toronto Blue Jays, especially with that. You got the whole home country hero hat here, like that is a story that would obviously trump, bad franchise finally wins. You got the home country guy bringing his country the championship in a sport that they're not really known for, type shit. And it's like, yeah, slaying the American juggernauts and all of that. That's a fantastic story. And then, like you said, they beat the Aaron Judge and them and made them look like they didn't belong. Uh, so I'm gonna go ahead. So I'm scared of the Blue Jays, but I'm rooting for Seattle because I don't know. I'm used to rooting for bad teams anyway, and I want them to get their moment.
Yeah, I think there's two versions of this that I'm really interested in, and both of them leave Milwaukee going home. And it is a Seattle Mariners Los Angeles Dodgers World Series.
Hmm.
The the lovable losers who've never won and one of the great American sports franchises, who is currently the
Yeah.
Death Star of MLB. He
Yeah.
paid $1 billion to assemble a super team. Um, uh, uh, and I would love to see the story of that. And then you've just convinced me now of like not so much LA, but Toronto, Chicago, because like you said, Chicago is also one of those historic American baseball teams, but they are also by I would assume by no particular design chock filled with a lot of white boys right now. And so it is just very it is good it is it is simple imagery of just like
Yeah.
the corn-fed white boy Americana baseball team. Our colors are literally red, white, and blue. And then the Toronto Blue Jays, led by a Dominican Canadian black person. Like it's just a great
Woo!
it's
Stay off the internet for the discourse during that.
a
But no,
story
that's
as
great.
old as time.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, both of those dream scenarios in my head leave Milwaukee being like, all right, well, fuck us then.
I've
I
never
guess
really
we're
cared
going
for
home.
Milwaukee anyway.
Uh, um, uh, former Boston Red Sox great, and just absolutely lovable human in his postseason career. Big Poppy David Ortiz has developed a phrase of "I'll see you in Cancun," and that's his way of saying you are going home. Your
Yeah.
season is done.
Hmm.
Bye.
I like how baseball uses the Cancun thing too.
Alrighty, Omari. Well, I think we're going to call it there at two topics because they were extra large topics here today on You Don't Watch Sports, just to sprinkle that little bit of sports information into your casual conversation as we are your guiding light through the sea that is sports talk. Omari, where can they find you on those interwebs if you want to be found?
If I want to be found, I'm, I'm not sure if Zoom picked that up, but I always want to be found. Bottom line is, I'm on this channel, and so is Bill. We got plenty of shows on here, especially if this guy hasn't seen Traded Media back and forth. This usually comes out on Tuesdays. I also have a Twitter and Twitch at Giotavi. That is Giotavi. Come on in, stop on by. Streaming Earth Day 240. You know what that means. Bill, you got anything else you want to say to the
No.
folks? All right. Well, guys, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next week. October's the best month. It's got all the sports.
And birthdays.
Adiosness. And birthdays. Adiosness.